Hello, welcome to my easy guide on formulating your own soap recipe at home. So as a disclaimer, although I've been making soap for the last 6 years, since around 2018, I am not a licensed dermatologist. So I'm just going to share with you the known benefits of the soap bars and just the experience that I've had for the last 6 years. So let's get started. The first thing you want to do is choose your oils and butters. These are like the staple of soap making. One of the main biggest ingredients is olive oil. So olive oil adds a creamy layer or a creamy lather, and it's really good for moisture. So this is like a staple. An alternative is rice bran oil, which we'll get to. This is a staple ingredient in any soap making formula. And I use this around 60%. You can use up to 100%. You can use it as Castile soap, which is 100% olive oil soap, or 100% any oil soap. But this is a staple. I don't want to say like it's a must-have, but it kind of is a must-have. You should have it. Or the alternative, which would be rice bran oil. So olive oil is really good for locking in moisture. So it's just really good for all skin types. Definitely dry skin, but really all skin types. This is a great oil to add to your recipe. Another great oil for dry skin is almond oil. I got this from Soaper's Choice, but you can get it from Amazon. You can get it from Berry. You can get it from any soap making business or like a candle business as well. They typically have that. But this is really going to soften your skin and help lock in that moisture. So it's really good if you do have dry skin to add almond oil. And the usage rate for almond oil is 10 to 15%. So generally speaking, you shouldn't really have more than 15% of your soap recipe be almond oil. This is great for dry skin. If you have oily skin, a great oil for that is grapeseed oil. And I got this grapeseed oil from Amazon. I don't use much grapeseed oil. That's why there's such a small container here, but you can order it in bulk like at Soaper's Choice or Wholesale Supply, any of those soaping businesses. But grapeseed oil is going to easily absorb into the skin. That's the known benefit of it. So it's really good for those with oily skins. And the usage rate for this is 10 to 15%. So you shouldn't use more than 15% in your soap bar calculation. Another oil that's really good for oily skin is jojoba oil. I may be saying that right. Jojoba oil. Again, I have a small container of this because I don't really use much of it, but this is really good for those with oily skin because it is going to absorb very rapidly and it's going to lock in moisture for your skin. It's non-comedogenic, which means that it's not going to clog up your pores. So it's a really good oil to use. Even if you want to use it just directly to your skin, jojoba oil is really good for that. And the usage rate for this is 5 to 10%. So you shouldn't use more than 10% in your soap bar calculation. Now for those with sensitive skin, you should introduce rice bran oil. Like I said earlier, this is an alternative for olive oil. Olive oil can be used for any soap bar calculation just like rice bran oil can. So it's a great alternative to it given the rising prices of olive oil. So rice bran oil is very gentle and non-irritating. So it's going to be really good for just giving you that nice moisturizing cleanse that you need without irritating your skin. It's very, very gentle and a lightweight on the skin. It's also going to contribute to the bubbles, and so the lather will be nicer, as well as a little bit of hardness for it, for rice bran oil. The usage rate for this is typically up to around 60%. It can be used as an alternative for olive oil. So although olive oil can go up to 100%, rice bran oil, you should kind of stick to around 60%. I normally don't use more than 60% in my soap recipes when I have rice bran oil. And I got this rice bran oil from Amazon, but again, you can get it from any wholesale supply, any Soaper's Choice, any company that sells soaping supplies. If you have skin conditions such as psoriasis, acne, eczema, any of those things. Again, I'm not a dermatologist, but there are just no benefits of oils that you can use when you have those type of skin conditions. And almond oil is up again. It's up again for a good oil to add to your soap recipe. Almond oil is really good for skin conditions because it's going to help you retain moisture and it really helps treat those dry, cracked skin, like when you have like the eczema and the acne. It kind of gets in there and retains the moisture that you need to get rid of the dry, cracked skin. So it's a good one to have. And again, the usage rate for almond oil is 10 to 15%. Another oil that's good for skin conditions is hemp seed oil. And I have a couple bottles of this. I only get it from Brambleberry, but I'm sure you could try other carriers. This oil is really good for skin conditions. It's been really helpful in my business as far as helping people when they do have acne or psoriasis or eczema. This is really good for that because it is going to soothe and reduce inflammation. So if you're having like a flare up, this can help kind of just soothe it and kind of reduce the symptoms for you. So you can use this directly on your skin or you can use it in a soap bar, but it really is a nice ingredient to add to any soap bar. And the usage rate on this is 3 to 15%. So you shouldn't use more than 15% in your soap calculations. Now let's go into butters. So, cocoa butter. This is a smaller container of cocoa butter that I ordered from Amazon. But then I also have this big, it was 10 pounds when I ordered it. I got this from Soaper's Choice. This is how it comes in a box. So I have this cocoa butter as well. And I decided that I need to use it. Cocoa butter is really great. It goes a long way and it's a really good butter to add to your skin or to add to your soap bar recipe when you have oily skin. It's going to add in a non-greasy feel to your soap bar and it's going to work to harden your soap bar. So it really is a good ingredient to have. And the usage rate on this is 5 to 10% for cocoa butter. If you have skin conditions or dry skin, shea butter is very great for that. I get this from Amazon, but I used to get it from Soaper's Choice. And then of course you can get it from any wholesale supply store. But this is a great one from Amazon if you're looking to get something pretty quickly and not cost as much money because you don't want to get it in too much of a bulk. This is 5 pounds of shea butter and it's going to really add in moisture to your skin. So that's why it's really good for dry skin. It's really good for skin conditions because often sometimes with skin conditions, you're kind of lacking moisture and shea butter is going to add in that moisture that you need. And the usage rate for a shea butter is 10 to 20%. I tend to stick around 15%, but you can go up to 20% in your soap bar recipe. When it comes to sensitive skin, mango butter is going to be it. And this is one of my 10-pound containers from Soaper's Choice, but you can order it from Amazon as well. I think I have it on my Amazon storefront of a mango butter that I used to use. Actually, it's from the same company as the one for the cocoa butter. So it's great if you want to get this for mango butter. It's kind of on the pricier side, but if you are looking for something quick, you can get that company for your mango butter. So this is what I have. Mango butter is very lightweight and very soothing, so it's really good for sensitive skin, and the usage rate for that is 5 to 10%. Now let's talk additives. So milk is great for all skin types. So you can use fresh milk or you can use powdered milk. If you are starting out with soaping, I recommend using powdered milk just because it's easier to incorporate it into your oils. And you don't have to worry about too much of the overheating because when you use fresh milk, you have to deal with scorching and the right temperatures, and milk is very temperamental. So it's better to start out with powdered milk just because using fresh milk is more of an advanced technique. But you can use any milk. You can use goat milk. You can use coconut milk. You can use whole like cow milk. You can use almond milk. Almond milk is one that I have been using since last year. I get it from Walmart. It's the Diamond brand or the Silk brand. Either one of those are good. And it really adds a very creamy, nice lather to your soap bar. Any of them do. So I have here, this is a liquid coconut milk you can use, but like I said, this is an advanced technique, so I wouldn't recommend this if you're first starting out with using milk in your soaps. This is Mayan Bird's goat milk, and you can use this at 2 tablespoons per pound of soap, and I do that for all of my powdered milks. When it comes to using it as a liquid, then I just use it to replace my distilled water. So it depends on how much of your distilled water you want to replace, whether it be all of it or some of it, you do the calculations. But when it comes to powder, I just do it at 2 tablespoons per pound of soap. If you have oily skin, an additive that I do recommend you use is activated charcoal. I bought this from Brambleberry and I got a big pack. What was it, 16 ounces? So I got a pound of it. So it comes in this box, but it is very like powdery and it's black. Obviously it's activated charcoal. That's how it looks in there. I don't want to take it out because it's messy. Activated charcoal definitely is messy additive to use, but it is so great. Let me tell you, the lather on your soap, people don't talk about that, but activated charcoal really does increase the creamy, bubbly lather to your soap bar. So it is great for that alone. So you use it in all your soap bars. I mean, it is kind of finicky to use, but if you can't use it in all of them, it's great because it will improve that lather. But it's really good for oily skin because it's going to get in there and deeply clean your pores. So it's just really good for that deep cleanse and drawing out impurities. So it's always a good a good game changer to add to a soap bar, especially if you have oily skin. And I use it at 1 teaspoon per pound of soap. Now there is a chart that is online. I'll try to link it below. One of the other soapers made it, and it's really good because it shows you how much activated charcoal you can use that will change your lather as far as like the color, because activated charcoal, if you use too much of it, it will give you a dark gray or a sort of black lather. And if you want a white lather, but you still want to use activated charcoal, she has a chart that really outlines all that. So I'll try to remember to link that below. But if I don't, y'all just let me know in the comments. If you have dry skin, then a good additive for you is honey. Honey is a humectant, which means that it's going to draw in moisture from the oils that you have in there from the atmosphere, and it's going to lock it into your skin. It is also going to give you a nice bubbly lather. So honey's great. The only reason why I don't use it in all of my soap bars is because it is sort of like an advanced technique, and you have to be very sensitive to temperatures because of honey. Because honey is sweet. It's sweet for your mouth and sweet for your skin. It will warm up the soap batter, and it could cause cracking. It can cause overheating. So you have to make sure that after you soak with honey, you have to soak with lower temperatures, but then you also have to put it in a cool place. I prefer to put it in the fridge, but you have to put it in a cool place to avoid all that overheating. This is really good for those with dry skin because it really is going to lock in that moisture for you. Also good for those with skin conditions, so eczema, psoriasis, acne, any of that stuff, just because it is really good for drawing in moisture and locking it into your skin, which is something that you need when you do have those skin conditions. So honey, hands down, a game changer. And I use it at 1 teaspoon per pound of soap. And I just get this honey from my local market, but wherever, you find honey, you can use it. Try to go for 100% pure honey because you don't want all those extra additives within it. Just honey, just pure natural honey is all that you need. And a little goes a long way. If you have sensitive skin, then colloidal oatmeal is a good one for you, a good additive for you. I have already taken all of my colloidal oatmeal out, and I put it in like these little containers just so when it comes to making my soap, I can just dump it in there. And I have kaolin clay in there as well. Kaolin clay is one of those additives that's really good for just adding, more so for the soap bar, not so much for you. But it just adds slip to the soap. So it feels a lot smoother on the skin. And then it also is really good if you're using like essential oils or fragrance oils because it's going to enhance those scents in your soap bar. So this is how the colloidal oatmeal looks. It's more of the brown texture. The white is the kaolin clay, but you can see there's not much of that because I don't use much of that, but I do use a lot of colloidal oatmeal in my soap bars. I typically do 1 teaspoon per pound of soap in my soap bars. So this is how the colloidal oatmeal looks. And this is the reason why there's a lot of it in here. This is because I've measured this out for a 5-pound soap mold. So there's going to be a lot in there, but it's 1 teaspoon per pound of soap. And colloidal oatmeal is going to soothe irritation, and it's going to add a gentle exfoliation. So it's good for any soap bar, which is honestly why it is used in all of my soap bars. But especially if you have sensitive skin, this is a great additive to add to your soap bar. So now I have tips for formulating your soap recipe. So one of those is to make sure you balance your oils and butters. A good rule of thumb, for me at least, is for every soft oil I have, I won't do more than 2 hard oils. And what I mean by soft versus hard, soft are like liquid oils. So oils that are liquid at room temperature. So like your rice bran oil, your olive oil, your almond oil. These are all considered soft oils. So I'll have at least no more than 2 hard oils per soft oil. And hard oils would be like your cocoa butter, your mango butter, your shea butter. Those are all, coconut oil too. Those are all hard oils, and they're hard because they are more of a solid at room temperature. Cocoa butter, like mango butter is like rock hard. So I won't have more than 2 of those per liquid oil. Another thing is when it comes to the liquid oil or the soft oils, I like to have that to at least be double what one of the hard oils is. And my hard oils individually will never be more than my main soft oil. So like I said, olive oil is a staple ingredient. So like my olive oil or my rice bran oil, one of those is going to be involved in my soap recipe. those are going to be at a minimum of 40% when I add it to my soap bar recipe, which means that if they are 40%, my hard oils like my coconut oil or my cocoa butter, whatever it may be, is not going to be more than 20%. Generally speaking, I tend to do olive oil at 60%. So of course, like my coconut oil could be more than 20% because, half of that is 30. But with coconut oil, I never go over 25%. That's just a personal preference for me, just because coconut oil is a little bit of drying to your skin, but it is very cleansing. So it's one of those oils that's sort of like a staple as well that you do need in your soap recipe. Another tip I have is checking your superfat. Generally speaking, superfats for most soap bars are around 5%. It's recommended that you do not go over 20%. And one of the reasons why is because superfat reduces the lather in your soap. Because superfat is really just free flowing oils that are in your soap bar that were not saponified, which is fine, but you do those to kind of add more moisture to your skin. So a higher superfat is going to have more moisture or more moisture retained to add to your skin. However, it's going to reduce the lather. So a good rule of thumb is 5%, definitely not more than 20%. When I'm making something like a salt bar, because those have a high percentage of salt in them, then my superfat on that would be like 20%, just because I want to add some moisture in there because there is a lot of salt and there's going to be a lot of coconut oil in a salt bar too. And that's another topic, but the reason for that is because salt inhibits lather, which means it reduces lather by a lot. And there's a lot of salt that goes into a salt bar depending on your recipe. So you have to use the coconut oil to give you back your lather, your bubbles, and your cleanse. However, coconut oil could be very drying to the skin. So in order to combat that, you add in a higher superfat, which like I said is around 20%. But I said that whole thing is like salt bars is another topic. So if you want to hear me talk more in depth about those, you can leave a comment below. But again, superfat should be around 5%. The other thing that's very important that you should do is run your recipe through a live calculator. I use Soap Calc, but there are other live calculators that you can use online. Leave a link for Soap Calc. But it's really good it's got pretty much all the oils and butters that you could ever think of. It is in there on that list. You add it to the calculator and you'll notice that like throughout this entire video, I've been talking about percentages because that's the way we measure soap recipes. We do it by percentage, not necessarily by ounce or gram. So in order for you to convert it to work with whatever your soap mold is, you need the percentage. You don't need the calculation. So, my soap bar may call for 20 ounces of olive oil for, a 2-pound recipe. But if you want to make a 1-pound recipe, then obviously you're going to need less olive oil. And you can't just say, okay, well, you had 20% or you had 20 ounces of olive oil. So now I'm going to reduce it to 10 ounces of olive oil because it's half the recipe. That's not the way it works. So you have to run it through Soap Calculator to make sure that it is done properly and that it is well balanced. Because if you don't, you can come out with a soap bar that's harmful to your skin. So definitely use Soap Calc when you're formulating your recipes. And if you want a video on how exactly to use Soap Calc, let me know in the comments below. If you're like, hold up, wait a minute, that was a lot of information. Like it's a lot into formulating your soap recipe, which it is. It is. However, if you want to take the guesswork out of it, I do have a seasonal soap of the month club, which means that every month I'll send you a soap bar that is tailored to the current weather and the conditions around us. It will include the recipe to the soap bar. So not only will you get the actual soap bar that I made, but you'll also get the recipe so you can try it at home so you don't have to worry about which ingredients should I use, how much should I use. I take all the guesswork out of it for you. And you can use that as a base recipe to formulate a soap recipe that is better for you. And once you get the recipe, you use the soap, you'll be able to see, okay, I think it's a little bit too dry, or I think, there's too much moisture in it. I wish it was a little more cleansing. And then you can kind of tweak that recipe to fit you. So I make it easy for you. Just join my seasonal soap of the month club. It's called Hands On Suds Soap of the Month Club. And I'll leave a link for that below. Also, if you're like, again, this video was just filled with a wealth of knowledge and I really wish I had this in like a handwritten format, I got you on that too. So I have a Handcrafters membership and there are 3 tiers of the membership. However, there is a free tier. I am going to add an ebook that's going to explain everything that I just said in this video to the free tier of that membership. So you can go and join that membership and you can print out that ebook to use so you can have a written instructions on what basically like a transcript of this video. You can have that to put aside for while you're formulating your soap recipe. So I hope that you did enjoy this and that it really was a wealth of knowledge and not me just tooting my own horn. Toot toot. But feel free to leave a comment below on some questions that you may have, or some tips that you may have in formulating a recipe, because I know there are soapers that watch these videos as well. And I thank you guys for tuning in. And for now, Black Hands are out. Bye bye, guys.